Hey everyone, this is Ben back with you in the Midwest Model Shop. Alright, in today's episode we're going to go ahead and work on nothing that I planned on working on the Enterprise Day. We're going to get some more of the hull and the hangar deck assembled. We're going to get some photo etch put in on the doors and things like that. But basically, this has been a rough week. Those of you on Patreon already know I wasn't feeling very well. Duchess of Kingston build over here is going really well over there. Thanks to everyone's support over on that channel. So, yeah, this is just one of those frustrating periods where nothing went right. Everything's in the video. But we got some progress done, and I'm ready to just kind of move on. Sorry it's taken so long to get a video out. You'll see why in this episode, and hopefully we can continue to make some steady progress here in the next few weeks. So yeah, that's it. Thank you for everyone for liking and subscribing. We really do appreciate all of the support, and let's go ahead and get in the video. Here we are having returned to action. So this is two of our pieces that I've been trying to put in all of the last video. Here's the photo etch detail from Pontos, and then this is the kit part. It's stock. The exception being that if you look here, I think you can see that I've had to thin that edge a little bit. And I trimmed a little corner right here off. You'll see why, because of some photo etch, and then just a little bit of light sanding. It fits fairly well. Down here are plastic piece. I thinned the tab out a little bit, and then otherwise it's good to go. It fits in the back here. This whole area was gun tub. I've been saying for forever. I've been trying to get everything to go in. It is a little bit of a trick installing it though, because this photo etch hangs out forward of there we go, of this piece outboard right here, and then we get to drop all the way down. I've done a whole bunch of fitting to make sure that this ends up being flush. So once you're satisfied this is good, this piece just slides straight in, with the exception being this tiny little corner right here on the photo etch gets in the way of this shelf. So if you just kind of do, really that's the issue. Everything else fits really snug. Just pop it in, get it past, there we go. Like so. And we'll have to put a little pressure on it to hold it down. So in the back corner over here, hopefully you can see, I'm trying to keep it flush with the floor. You just kind of got to eyeball it. And then towards the front, towards the bow, there's this whole little mess with this square. You know, I guess it would ideally fit up and in like that, but once you do that, then we have this big gap right here, and then it's not going to fit up on, you know, on our part here. So you're better off just pushing this down, right? Get it flat, and then make sure that it lines up in the back here, so the floor is flush across. And then we'll just fill in this part that I showed you up here, this ugly mess, with some putty to smooth it out. So now that I've said all of that and explained how it all fits in, you can kind of get a sense of what's going on. I'm going to go ahead and just paint all these parts up. We'll come back and drop them in, and that should lock in the back port side of the ship, which is something I've been trying to do for a while now. Alright, we've got some paint on, and of course I was like, is there something? I thought something went here, and this is a piece that comes out of the KA kit that drops on top of these. There's nothing in the Pontos kit. This is what you have, and this is what you're covering it with. So I'm going to go ahead and throw these two plates on, get a little paint, touch up some of this, and then we'll go ahead and install it. So I figure the paint's probably a little still wet. I figure my fingers probably shouldn't touch anything. Yeah, let's put it in. Let's see what we can do here. So we're going to pivot this thing, push it forward, and drop it down. Like that. Okay. That looks probably pretty good. Check our angle here. Looks like I'm sitting on the floor all the way. Alright, so let's drop some unnecessary glue down the seam in the backs here. Like so. Alright, now we have the tricky part, right? So this piece, actually, I don't know, tricky's the right word. It should just slide right in. It's a matter of having our angle right. So let's go ahead and put a little glue along here, because this ledge it sits flush on. Definitely got to put glue here and on top of here. And then let's hit, oh, I already scratched it. Let's hit this seam back. See if we can't pop it in there. And down. Am I all the way back? I gotta come back just a hair more. There we go. And down. Whoop. So, okay, so we're flush across here. And we still got a little bit of a seam exposure down here. See this? We want that to close up. This will mar up the paint, but I'm going to go ahead and flow some glue in here. I mean, you could just, you know, fill the seam, but see how if we push down right away, it you know, it fills in right here. So we're going to go ahead and I'll just hold this for a few and we'll call that good, and then move on to the starboard side. All right, pressing on. All right, moving along, we're getting into a good news, bad news scenario. So the good news is we're ready to press on to the back side here, where I wanted to box in the rest of the ship in the back here, right? I wanted to get the photo etch in here and the anti-aircraft gun position all set up, so this end was kind of like locked in. So that means we need to go ahead and put in this wall. All right, so the good news is we've got our part all prepped and ready to go per the trumpeter the Pontos instructions, and it drops in like so. Actually, just go, yeah, like right there, like that. And this is how it goes in. And I've got all my pieces prepped and removed and set. I went ahead and got out this piece of photo etch. It gets bent and it goes this way. Ultimately, it'll get installed, I believe, like that on there. Yeah, and then that would allow us to do everything we want over here. Here's the bad news. I am missing photo etch sheets T and U that would allow me to do this whole thing. If we look down at our instructions here, this is this whole big section right here. And I dug around. I found out I was missing U. I looked in the instructions later on to figure out where those parts are at. So, yeah, they're gone. I don't have them at all. I'm supposed to have 32 sheets. If you look at the inventory sheet, Ponto says you just get 32 sheets, and doesn't say what they're supposed to be. Just you're supposed to have 32 of them. So I've gone ahead and emailed Pontos. I'm waiting to hear back from them to see what can happen. In the meantime, other things can take place. That's what we're going to have to do. This section right here that covers the trunk for the funnels, I have that finished, and I could glue it in. In fact, the instructions want you to do that. We might just do that. Along this wall, I'll get this out of the way, can't use it. We have some photo etch, well, another interior wall and some photo etch parts that go in there. There's also a wall that attaches here off of this section that then would tie into this piece. Not to mention all of the stuff way over here on the bow. We could just shift gears completely and work on the bow. So that's really frustrating. It really sucked the winds out of my sails because I had a whole plan and everything, and it's kind of fallen apart. So what I think I might do is go ahead and dig up this piece and see if there's any other pieces along this port side interior wall that we can kind of work on just in the interim here. And I'm waiting to hear back from Pontos. I'm hoping that it says they still sell this kit, so I'm hoping the parts are in stock. They'll either ship them to me or we figure something out. For those of you saying, well, Ben, you have the KA kit, why don't you just use that? So a couple of things. I'm going to have to do some scratch building. These little metal pieces, they're showed removed. I cut those out and removed them, so I'd have to build those posts and put them back in. And KA doesn't have any of this stuff. I mean, it has these anti-aircraft gun areas, but none of this wall detail. It just has the doors. And there's a ton of other little parts that KA didn't address, and that is why I bought the Pontos kit, was to have all these big sheets of photo etch to install. So yeah, that really sucks on my part that I didn't catch that earlier. Alright, so just give me a few. I'll come back here and we'll press on with something else. Alright, we're back. A bunch of times passed. So this is an internal bulkhead that goes on the port side, aft, inside of the hangar deck. And so we're going to go ahead and put together more good news, bad news. The bad news is this is it. There's these three parts and then it gets glued in. So I'm going to stick these parts on. I'm going to throw some white paint on it, and then we're going to go ahead and fit it to the inside bulkhead of the ship. I'll put some wear on this, and I really don't know what this is for. The good news is I was contacted by Pontos. They got back to me through my email, and they're shipping the 2 sheets that I need, but I have no idea how long that will take. So let's paint this up, and then it goes in right over here. And there's 2 slots that correspond with these slots that drops in. I've already narrowed them this way, but the width is a little wide too. They're a little tight, so I'm going to sand them down. And then it fits in actually pretty nicely to the floor and this bulkhead wall right here, creating a pretty rigid joint, which is nice. So yeah, I'll sand this real quick. Let's get some paint on it, and then we'll put it in. All right, here's our piece we were looking at, and then this extra one here, I think it's Mike 5. I grabbed it too because it goes in aft of it's on the starboard side, aft of the main section, the trunk for the funnels. I'll wait for the compressor to stop. I didn't see anything about it having any photo etch on it. In fact, this whole section right here, I think it's covered up. So I thought, well, I could save some time here. I got the airbrush out. Let's go ahead and throw the white on it too. So we'll get these 2 things painted up. Pressing on. Alrighty, here's our piece. Painted, got some weathering on it, and it drops in like this. It drops in nicely because I previously trimmed up these tabs down here in the bottom. Otherwise, the fit would have been a little rough. But it goes up against this wall right here really well. Over here on the right, this goes up against the wall, and then this section right here also ties in the wall right there. So, plenty of opportunities here to glue this in and along the top. I make this look nice, and it's kind of I guess it's just a nice piece is what I'm saying. It fits well, and it adds a bunch of rigidity to the part, which I think is really nice. These little bumps right here, they attach to the wall also. That's why I'm throwing some glue on them, and provide a solid contact point. So I'm assuming yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just a coincidence, but this should provide some serious structural integrity to everything over here, right? That's the idea. Okay. We got enough to get it started. Wrap it in like so. And up here, I might stick a clamp on it. Let's do that. Alright, this is a... I was gonna say it's a pretty light duty clamp, but I don't have the reach that I want. Will this one work? Yeah, but it's pulling it up. Alright, that idea is not gonna work. We're just gonna have to do it the old-fashioned way and work it into position. So I'll continue gluing it up like this. We'll take a better look at it. Okie doke, so it is glued in. You can see some scrapage here from stuff I just can't let go and I want to clean up, but this is our piece installed in our ever sprawling hangar deck. Looks good, continues way on the heck down. So, in the guise of this wasn't my plan at all, because pieces, we're going to go ahead and glue in a couple other things. So we're going to go ahead and glue in our previously built trunk housing area that goes right here, because I kind of want to talk about that a little bit. And then next to it goes this other piece that I whipped up real quick, just because it just kind of drops in. It's like a filler background piece. So let's take a look here. Alright, hopefully this makes sense. I know I touched base on it in the last video. I got some touching up to do here. So you have obviously this, bottom shape. I talked about trimming up and making sure this is a clean face back here because it butts up to this nice little tracked area. But what I discovered was it fits tight and has a tendency to want to lock down in like this, and when you're going from the opposite direction, this side, right, so you'd be looking from over here, it's hard to tell if this piece is in fact all the way back and seated, which is why I'm going way out of my way to emphasize glue it in from the port side right over here so that you can see what is happening. So I know that I've got it all the way back. I'm going to go ahead and drop my glue in, and I can get to all these positions. It fits left to right very snugly. That's snugly, tight. Fits really well left to right, but doesn't, because of that tightness, it doesn't want to slide all the way to the starboard wall like it's supposed to. So anyway, it's important, and we want to just make sure that we are back, because I'm putting my fingers on the side and clamping here, and every time I do that I get a little click, like this whole thing just kind of shifts towards me a little bit, which is like, okay, at what point here, see, at what point here am I all the way back and I'm all the way down? And I want to make sure that that is correct. All right, so that's my point. We'll get it glued up here and move on to the other piece. Okay, so our piece is glued in, and then the next piece, this thing, goes in right here. And it pushes down, and there's two slots right here. I'll get you a slightly better angle of it. These two slots need to be on this side of the wall, because another wall box for the whole elevator thing goes and gets dropped in here. But before I mess with this, I'll leave it. I want to show you a little bit of a problem that I ran into. Look at that. Yeah, remember I said I wanted to leave all the doors open? I did, and apparently this wall blocks that door. I had a lot of trouble figuring out what part is this. It's L11. Lima 11 is the door, and it's supposed to go in behind this whole contraption, which normally I'd be like, okay, well, I'll just drop it down in there. The problem is you're supposed to do that first, and this block is up against this wall now as a positive glue support, and so there is no putting that door in behind. So yeah, my bad. So that thing's gonna have to go, sorry I'm moving around all crazy here, that thing's gonna have to go in the front here. And there is a track and it's recessed, so there is a space for it to go. So I'm gonna cut out L11, I'll cut it and drop it in here so that it fits in the right spot. And then I didn't realize that also there's some tracks that go around these door openings. I don't know, well, I know exactly how I missed it. The instructions, am I looking in the right thing here? The instructions are kind of all over the place with these parts, and I spend a lot of time, I don't even know if I'm looking at the right page here. I think I'm looking at an old page. I spend a lot of time trying to figure out where am I at, and Pontos, you guys just got to start to do a slightly better job of laying this stuff out in an order that makes sense. Or you got to label the parts better, please, because I spend a lot of time trying to sort out, do I have all the right parts? Where do they go? Am I even looking at the right thing? Like, it just, yeah, it's frustrating. So anyway, we'll work on installing a couple of these photo etch pieces that I would have liked to have done earlier. And then this wall, you know, I want to glue it in because here this drops in, it glues up against this wall. It seems to run straight, despite the fact that it only has one tab. One tab is where it goes, so I'm assuming that this angle and everything is correct here. I'll probably get out my other wall piece here and drop it in, just so we can kind of make sure it's in the right place, because my assumption is if this is in the correct position, then I have an end here and an end here to tie this whole thing in when we get to that point. I'm trying to build things up in a way that structurally kind of helps the situation versus not helping the situation. All right? Yeah, pressing on. All right, real quick on the wobbly can here. I was able to cut out the piece. I had to trim off about 1/8 inch and drop it in position. We'll get it painted. It looks great. So around this door frame, I wish I'd caught earlier, there's like these little metal frames that go in. They're really nice. Well, I think they are. Here's my life problem though. According to the instructions, it's this piece, L17. So, this is sheet L. And here's 17. Right there, that's this big piece. So, I've noticed that there's just a pile of mislabeled parts. Either, well, the photo etch can't be labeled wrong because they're etched, right? So it's probably the instruction sheet. And this is causing me a huge amount of headache because I can't find L17 or 18 for that matter. And other than going through all my sheets, and I'm missing 2 sheets that have to come in the mail. So that's really frustrating to me. And I really hope that this doesn't slow the build down a lot, because what happens is I spend like 25 minutes to a half hour just going through these sheets, going through these instructions, trying to find, because even if I find the right part, like, oh, it should have been labeled, you know, B28. I have to go through the entire instruction sheet to find B28 now to make sure it's not mislabeled and should be, you know, the corrected part number, and then annotate that. And anyway, that's what I'm trying to do. So, yeah, pressing on. Okay, I had to take a break because I'm really frustrated by this stuff, and I came back and did some digging. Here is the answer. Part, whatever, it's K17 and K18. This is on page 15 of the instructions on the right-hand side in the middle. That is what those door frame parts are supposed to be. I did some digging around and I was able to find it. The other thing is, I looked at some pictures because I want all these doors open, except obviously this one's got to be closed. And in all the photos I've seen, the doors are open when when they are, but they're not open all the way to the top. They're still just a little bit, because this is like 20 feet or something like that. You don't need it open all the way. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut some doors out and slap them in here, and at various heights also. And I think that will add some interest to this. And then this piece back here, I've confirmed in the instructions, it just glues in like this, literally. It's actually supposed to go in now at this point, right where it sits, like it is. So I'm gonna glue that in too, and I'll come back and we're gonna wrap this up. It's kind of been a very frustrating week, a frustrating build sequence with a whole lot of things not going as planned. I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. As I mentioned before, I went ahead and installed the doors, the hangar deck doors, and they're not painted, they're just in there. Raised to various heights, as I've seen in the reference photos. And this actually, I think, gives the model a little bit of life here, because it looks like people open these doors, except for that one doesn't open, and just set them at various heights for the appropriate amount of ventilation. They're not painted, obviously. I think they look good. On the inside, it's a little bit of a mess, but good thing you're not going to be able to see that. So it's just they're just like glued onto, I know this isn't the best angle, but they're just glued onto the back side of the plastic, and we'll paint it up white. Once the whole thing's put together, you're never going to see it. So yeah, but that works out nice. It's a nice little addition. So that's going to do it for this week. Yeah, it's just been a little bit rough and no fun. But we're making progress. I feel like it looks pretty good. And hopefully we'll get our photo etch in sometime next week. If not, we're just going to continue on with the bow area up here. And that... but that'll be progress that we can make. Anyway, I hope you're all doing better than this whole experience went, and be safe out there. We'll see you next time.